Hello and welcome back to the second ever edition of the Reeve Bloom show, we're calling it. There were a few comments in the first YouTube video saying it sounds like a florist. Some people saying, like you, Ben, you suggested it sounds like sort of a funeral parlour. It is the best Norwich City and Ipswich Town show on YouTube. That's what we're going to be calling it. Ben, how are you, mate?
I'd further that. I'd say it's the best collaboration between a Norwich and Ipswich fan of all time, on the basis of being the only one. But
right, I suppose there's been what has there been, like Alan Brazil and Dan O'Hagan ones down the line, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I love Alan. I preferred his work when he was a summariser, let's just say. But he's very entertaining and was an amazing footballer. And we're going to talk about a lot of amazing footballers. But I've been absolutely fine, Jack. Trying to reconcile myself with the fact that I'm probably one of the least suffering people, but still, it's a drag, isn't it? God.
It's really frustrating as well because the weather seems to be immaculate
taunting us
all day, and you're just looking out the window being like, I need to time this walk or whatever very well because I'm only allowed out once, so I need to make it count. So yeah, I'm going to pick up a few comments from the last YouTube video. We'll get on in a moment of what we're doing in this video. Lewis Morfitt said, "This is great and all, but it's a little bit church book club for me. I want to see you two proper disagree about something, have a go at each other in rivalry fashion." Now, we're both quite, I don't think we get annoyed about much, do we, Ben? I mean, we could try and think about something we disagree on, but it's going to be tough, I think.
Well, we don't want to, we don't want to fake it like Adrian Durham Talksport, where miraculously the two presenters have the opposing point of view. Look, Jack's my friend. I'll disagree with him if I disagree on something. We try to be balanced, and sadly, that if you do want us to fly at each other, I think there's a clip of Alex, the Ipswich YouTuber, and a Norwich YouTuber arguing on the TV with Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV. In the background, go watch that maybe. But no, I think he's saying it vaguely tongue in cheek. But look, if you we disagreed on stuff before, we'll disagree on stuff again. But no, I won't be being mean to my friend Jack.
It's all far too civil. And the most liked comment on our latest video on the TalkNorwichCity channel was, "Shut up, is this a thing now? Fantastic idea." The last one with you two was great. That got 20 thumbs up, 16 of them on all my different accounts. Right, today we are going to be doing a combined Norwich City and Ipswich Town 11. So we've both got our combined 11s. We've got our best 11 from, so I've got Norwich, Ben's got Ipswich, and then at the end we'll try and half them. So we've got 5 or so Ipswich players, or 6 Ipswich players and 5 Norwich players. So hopefully get a really good Norwich and Ipswich combined 11. The only rules we've got is we have to have seen these players in the flesh to count them.
Jack, the formation has to work. Did you ever see Yaya Touré's best team he ever played with? No,
I didn't.
I swear he had something ridiculous like Messi on the left wing and Iniesta in mid centre back or something stupid like that, just to get all the best. But so the formation has to work. So you've picked your team. I've picked my team. I'm going to respectfully let Jack go first, but so he's going to pick a player and I'm going to pick a player, and we'll try and make it into some kind of coherent team. If I can just make a couple of comments before we start, Jack, because I'm sure you've done this before. I've done many 11s and stuff on my channel. So my first comment is, if you're going to comment on the video and put, "Where's so-and-so?" don't bother. Make your own team. It's a bit of fun. I may have a different opinion to you on a player. That's fine. But it's more fun if you make your own team and put it in the comments than say, "Where's so-and-so?" Also, you can only watch what you have watched. It's not my fault I was born 1 year after Ipswich Town had their greatest season of all time. Yes, of course, if I'd seen the 1981 Ipswich team, none of the players I'm going to pick would be in my team, but I cannot help that. So yes, I know they're all better players, and Jack, I'm sure you'd say the same for the mid-90s and the 1989 Norwich team. If you didn't see them, you can't pick them.
Yeah, that's the only rule we've got here, isn't it? You have to have seen the player in the flesh live. Okay, so Do you want me to start? So should we go through like the goal? Let's do goalkeeper first,
Okay.
and then we'll go through the whole of our defensive line and swap over.
I think we're going to have a couple of England keepers here, aren't we?
It looks that way.
Yeah. You want to go
So
first?
I'm going to go. This is probably the trickiest one actually for Norwich, because over the 16 odd years I've been watching Norwich, we've actually had some really good goalkeepers. We've produced a lot of really good goalkeepers, but I'm going for John Ruddy. Now, John Ruddy, of course, got an England call-up. Before that injury he picked up at Everton away when he ripped his hamstring off it was a really nasty injury, and it left him out for months on end. He was a really top goalkeeper, and he still went on to become a really good goalkeeper. He had a great season at Wolves, got back into the Premier League, but his longevity at Norwich City can't be overlooked. Multiple promotions, a really good keeper in the Premier League. I could have put in Angus Gunn. I could have even put in Tim Krul. Robert Green was in there as well, another England goalkeeper. So I had a good choice. I've gone for John Ruddy. Maybe not technically the best goalkeeper out of the list I had down here, but he oversaw a lot of promotions. He was very well respected in the dressing room, and to get that England cap is no sort of easy thing. So I'm going for Big John. What about you, Ben?
That's a difficult one to argue against, that one, isn't it? I've gone for Richard Wright, who was also kept a few times by England, came through the Ipswich ranks, famously had a worldie age 17 against Alan Shearer's Blackburn in an FA Cup win, national news, etc. Was in all the playoff defeats and then the playoff victory, was in the great season in the Premier League, and then signed by no less than Arsene Wenger for Arsenal. Like many Ipswich players, struggled to go away from being the big fish in the small pond to then go to Arsenal, and in the end they had to go. They got Jens Lehmann, who was a great goalkeeper after that. But the Richard Wright we saw was the young goalkeeper coming through. Again, I know lots of people he would struggle today because goalkeepers are required to do so much more, but you can't blame these players for the time they played with. But certainly Kelvin Davis would have run him close. He had a couple of brilliant seasons for us under Joe Royle, and then went off to, I think Mick McCarthy snatched him for Sunderland, and then played in the Premier League for Southampton as well. But no, two good goalkeepers. I must just say as well, if you're watching this video and you're unable to appreciate the talent of a player that plays for your rival team, you're going to struggle with this, because we have respect.
Hart doesn't even come close to them two for you?
He would come close. It's really difficult, isn't it, when you've had players who've played at the top level and played for England. For what he did, Bart was really good. If he'd not fallen off a cliff in his last season and lost the plot and left the way he left, he'd be close, 3-time Player of the Year. But it's difficult because it's a different level of player that plays for England, isn't it, than a really good Championship keeper.
And I think you mentioned there, and it's a key thing, and it's really tough. If a player has a poor final season, that's all you really remember them for.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's really interesting. You said there about Richard Wright getting that move to Arsenal. John Ruddy was very close to getting a move to Chelsea.
Wow.
And it's been really interesting to see. You said, Richard Wright didn't quite make that step up.
He wasn't that level of player, I don't think, Jack, either. I think he was a decent Premier League level keeper, not an elite one.
Yeah, but if John Ruddy would have got that move, it would have been fascinating to see if he would have made that. I think Mark Schwarzer ended up going to Chelsea instead at the time. And
he's won various titles with Chelsea, hasn't he, for sitting on the bench?
Really odd. Okay, so should we go through who we want to select in that position at the end? Or
let's do it at the end. That'd be fun, okay.
So shall I go through my defensive line? Or
what formation have you gone for?
So despite Norwich hardly ever playing with formation, I've picked the 4-4-2 solely because I can kind of sculpt players into the positions. And it also allows me to play two strikers. And I think we've had some really good strikers over the years, and also fit in a certain left winger that I wanted to put in there as well. So I will go through my defence. Left back, Adam Drury.
Now, he was a good player, wasn't he?
Very good player. Long serving.
Peterborough?
Yes. Yeah. Just really, really solid. I don't think, as you said there about goalkeepers now having to be good with their feet, I don't think Drury would have maybe been a good modern day left back, but he just did his job so well. He defended and he passed it to Huckabee, and that's all he did, and it worked so well. And for us, that worked perfectly. So Drury goes in there for me over the likes of Olsen. Olsen could have quite easily gone in there. He was fantastic, marauding, maybe not quite as good defensively as Drury, but Drury goes in there for me. Now, the centre-back partnership, I found this so difficult because we haven't really had a set centre-back partnership since probably the Malky days, and I didn't really see them days. So I've gone for a very questionable centre-back pairing that would be utter carnage, but two individuals, it's not too bad. Tim Close is one of them. £8.5 million signing, big money for us. And I think if it hadn't have been for his injury in that season under, was it Chris Hughton and then Neil Adams, we would have probably stayed in the Premier League. I remember him, I think he limped off away at Crystal Palace, and there was about 6 or 7 games left in that season. There was just a real groan around the place because we hadn't had a defender like him for so many years. He was so good with his feet. He could head the ball. And we would have probably been in a better position this season if it hadn't have been for his injuries. He's been plagued with injuries throughout his whole Norwich career. But on his day, Tim Close is a really special player and scored a lovely goal against Ipswich.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Next to him, now I'm going to get slated for this. I know I am. Sebastian Bassong.
I thought he might come up. Yeah, okay.
So Sebastian Bassong, as you said about Bart, he's probably remembered not so well because his final season wasn't that great. But I was watching back the playoff final against Middlesbrough the other day and also the playoff semi-final against you guys. And he was unbelievable that day. Absolutely unbelievable. He was a player of the season, a Barry Butler Memorial Trophy winner. That's not easy. To get that and to have a few really good seasons in a Premier League side and a Championship promotion winning side, I think Sebastian Bassong goes in there for me. There's a few others who you could have chucked in there, but Bassong goes in there for me. And then right back, I'm going for Max Aarons. Now, it was a really tough one for me. Do I put Max in there or do I put Russell Martin in there? I still remember Russell Martin as being that really attacking fullback under Lambert. But I think Max Aarons technically is a little bit better. He's a proper athlete. He's cut it in the Premier League. So, yeah, I'm going for Drury, Close, Bassong and Max Aarons. It doesn't, on paper, it looks like a horribly balanced defensive line. But if we're taking this on solely individuals, I think that's pretty decent.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And it's difficult with people like Aarons, isn't it? Because, like you say, Aarons or Russell Martin, well, pound for pound, Aarons is obviously miles ahead. But it's, again, you can't help the time you played and what the job was then. And I think you have to look at the potential sometimes of what Aarons is likely to go on and do in his future career. I've gone for a back three. Do you want me to do the wing backs as well? So all 5 of them.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
So I have to put him in because I saw him. This is a bit naughty. So in the middle of the back three, I've got to go for John Walk. This is not central midfield scoring 36 goals in one season, John Walk. This is one of those fun times where you get a really good player who goes and plays centre half and got no pace whatsoever, but set plays, scores all the time. Every single long ball that comes in, he's like 3 yards ahead of the other player because he's got it up there. So yes, you might remember John Walk getting sent off in an East Anglian derby, but when he did come back that last time, I did see him, and just for his sheer greatness, I've got to put him in at centre back. Obviously, Tony Mowbray would be the other one in that position who was maybe did his best stuff for Celtic and Middlesbrough, but was a great player for us in the promotion. I've gone for a modern one here, Jack, just to balance this up, and in the same way you've gone for Max Aarons, my left centre back, because I need a left footer even though he's 2 foot, I've gone for Adam Webster, just on the basis that in modern day Ipswich Town, this is the guy who's like, I know Tyrone Mings has done. Oh God, now I'm second guessing myself. Oh dear. Let's stick with what I've gone for. God, I'm really second guessing that. No, I'll stick with it. Webster may. I'm changing it. Sorry,
What's
Tyrone
your
Mings,
Mings in at centre back?
left centre back. That's where he's played for
Yeah.
England and where he's played for
Yeah.
Villa, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, there we go. Tyrone Mings. I've changed it on the fly there, just
I'm
on the
not sure if
basis
that's allowed.
of what he's done. Obviously, he was a left back for us, but
Yeah.
when he went to Villa last season, this is a bit naughty, isn't it? A bit disingenuous.
It
I'm
is
just thinking
definitely.
about the team at the end of the conversation. And the right centre back, and please don't laugh, I've gone for Titus Bramble. Purely because when Bramble was at Ipswich, the Bramble I saw, I know I've
Yeah.
just waffled on about Mings at Villa, the Bramble I saw was an 18-year-old absolute monster that every big club wanted to sign. I just remember the first one of the first games in the Premier League, he literally ran out of defence, barged his way through, like straight up the pitch and scored against Sunderland. Absolute force of nature.
Titus
And
Brown's still playing, isn't he? At some Suffolk non-league club.
I don't know. I know he does work with lots of stuff with Boots for Africa and things with
Okay.
Simon Milton, another ex-player of us. But the whole thing with Titus Bramble is if he has John Walk next to him, in the same way he had Tony Mowbray next to him, he'd be absolutely fine. And he was a destroyer for us for a season. And honestly, Sir Bobby ended up signing him for Newcastle. Every
Yeah, that's
single
true, actually.
every single big club wanted him. Right wing back. I don't know if you've even heard of him. I've gone for Mick Stockwell, who was just an amazing player for us. He fits bathrooms now, so he did not. Straight up, he did not play. He just got the tail end of the Premier League era. He's about 5'6". You literally, the only player I compare him to, not the same level of talent, is James Milner. You literally put him
Okay.
in any position. We put him up front away at Wimbledon once, and he did this dribble and scored. So fit, so reliable, and a proper cult hero. I could have gone for Fabian Wilness, but I just got to go for Mick
I feel like,
Stockwell.
did you say he fits bathrooms now?
Yes.
I feel like being quite small is probably a good thing if you fit bathrooms because you kind of need to like get in tight
Yeah,
spaces, don't you? And
absolutely.
pipes and stuff. So
Tim
what's it
Closer
called? Like,
couldn't do it. Mickey Stockwell, yeah.
Stockwell bathrooms or something.
I don't know what it's called. Honestly, though, Jack, he was a brilliant player. Not a big name or anything like that, but he was an absolutely brilliant player.
I'll trust you on that one, but solely of his career now, I'm sure he's a great bloke.
Left wing back, I've gone for Jamie Clapham. Could have gone for Herman Hreidarson. Oh, what a player he was!
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Clapham is just about would break any running. Could have been a middle distance runner. Really, really good player. And there's no coincidence that when we were relegated from the Premier League, a few of our players then went on and played another couple of hundred Premier League games for Birmingham and Wolves and things of that nature. He was a real. Those wing backs would. I'm sure you're going to have good wingers in your team, but not Dani Alves or Cafu or anything like that. But yeah, really so reliable. So I've gone for a back three of Mings on the fly, Walk and Bramble. And I've gone
That's solid, actually.
Yeah, Mick Stockwell and Jamie Clapham as the wing backs.
Okay. It's really interesting, isn't it? You've got so many factors here of what you take into consideration. You just mentioned there players going on to make X amount of games in the Premier League after leaving Ipswich. Do you take that into consideration? Do you take their before joining the clubs into consideration, their time at the club? There's a lot to take in here. Okay, let's move into the midfield. I've obviously got just a flat middle four. Huckabee on the left. I mean,
in midfield.
Yeah, so it's sort of left midfield, but basically a winger.
Kevin Keegan played him there, so if Keggy does it, then that's allowed, isn't it?
As I say, I've sculpted a few players in. It's my man management that can allow the players to play where they are. Hux was just phenomenal. Like, I don't think we've had a player. We've had a few wingers over the time who've been able to get you off your seat as much as Huckabee, but he was just so good. I've watched so many of them goals back. He was so exciting. I was listening to a podcast with Dion Dublin yesterday, and Dion said if it wasn't for Huckabee, he would have never got an England call-up when he was at Coventry. Everything that Dion flipped on, Huckabee was there. Granted, that wasn't at Norwich.
Jack, is it fair on Huckabee that he's like the go-to player when you pick out a player who was way too good for the second tier, but never, even with Leeds and Man City, and he was good for Coventry, wasn't he, to begin with?
Yeah,
Never could do it consistently in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that season at Coventry was really special. It's always Huckabee and it's Cameron Jerome. They're the two players that you
I would
pick.
say Robert Earnshaw as well.
Robert Earnshaw as well. A load of Norwich players.
But it just says that. But think where Norwich have been over the last years, it would stand to reason, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but even now, Huckabee, he runs, I think, 100 kilometres a week. He still follows his footballer's diet. He is a proper athlete still. He plays a Kringle. Imagine marking in a veterans Sunday league in Norwich. You're the right back, and you've got Darren Huckabee to mark. It must be an absolute nightmare. And there was a season, I think, when for Cringleford Vets, it was Huckabee down the left and Grant Holt up front.
I love this. Cringleford Vets, bathroom fitting. There was one brilliant game, Jack. I must just quickly, when we got relegated from the Premier League, we came up against Keegan's Man City, who were ridiculous they got like 100 points. And in the same team, they like had Gota, Bernabia, Berkovic, Huckabee, just like 8 forwards. And I do remember Huckabee scoring and pulling his shirt off, and yeah, he looked like he worked out. Yeah,
yeah, he is a proper athlete. Yeah, so Huckabee down the left. We had that season as well when Bradley Johnson played on left midfield and actually played remarkably well. But I don't really see Johnson as a left midfielder. Although over the past few seasons he's been a really magnificent one. In the middle, I've gone for Johnny Howson. Just in terms of technically, just such a nice footballer to watch. Never did he did a few magnificent things. That goal against Nottingham Forest, the ability to strike that on the volley was sensational. But just a really good player to have in your team, a proper box-to-box midfielder. Yeah, nothing magical about him, but just a really solid footballer.
Leeds fans love him as well.
Yeah, massively. I think he'd probably still get in our team now. It's an absolute disgrace that he's kind of been playing as
back.
At Middlesbrough. I mean, I cannot get my head around that. I really can't. It's like when you're on Football Manager and you've got your right backs out injured and it's, who do I put there? And it's like
always the most versatile people. You move Wayne Rooney, not Cristiano Ronaldo, don't you? Yeah.
It's an absolute disgrace about that. Now, this is going to cause some controversy because he's not in his natural position, but I think he's just so good he can kind of play there. I'm putting Wes Hoolahan in the middle of the park. Not quite as advanced. I see the eyebrows raised there.
All I'm thinking is James Maddison. That's all I'm... I'm thinking.
Just because...
You've got to have Hoolahan. Yes, you have.
Wes has to go in there. You're right, though. I've missed out James Maddison. This is the issue, isn't it? You always forget play. No, I'm not gonna do a Ben Bloom. I'm sticking with my gut. I'm sticking with my gut. Yeah, this works better, I think. Hoolahan in the middle, just a lovely player to watch.
Great player. Yeah.
Hardly ever. Don't trust him on penalties. He scored that one against Ipswich, I know, but never trust him on penalties. Just magnificent. Similar to Maddison, just the way he turned on the ball. If he had a right foot, he would have been a solid Premier League player. But he didn't have a right foot, so that wasn't to be. Out on the right-hand side, again, not his natural position probably, but can still play there. Emi Buendia. Just, again, another magical player. I think there's too many really kind of flair players in my midfield. Huckabee, Hoolahan and Buendia. I mean, there's not much defence.
That's open.
Yeah.
Get Maddison in there as well.
I say there's not much defensive kind of power there. Buendia, he always has these ridiculous stats about making the most defensive kind of duels and the most tackles out of our whole squad. He is like a bull in a china shop. He's running about, he's carnage, but he's really special. He's going to be our record sale for sure whenever the transfer window comes. I'm not quite sure when it will come.
What level do you think he'll go to?
It depends. I think it's really tough, isn't it? I think he could become a top 4 Premier League player. Whether he sticks in the Premier League, I don't know. He is really special.
Great player,
really special. Just works so hard. got a pass on him. There's goals in there as well, and he lit up the Championship last season. So Buendia there, I could have put in Nathan Redmond.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't think he's ever quite fulfilled the potential. He's worked really nicely under Hasenhüttl, hasn't he? But I think he's just a player that really needs coaching, and he got that under Hasenhüttl, but I think it may have come a little bit late.
I've got Bramble in.
That's true. So yeah, imagine a team of Buendia and Bramble. Does that work?
There would be red cards.
Red cards. Okay, so yeah, Huckabee House and Houlihan and Buendia. Sorry, Mr. Madison.
I've just realised I could have gone for Tarico at left wing back. This is hard, isn't it? There's going to be where's so and so. Right, my midfield. Obviously, I've gone for 3-5-2. So Ipswich generally haven't had amazing wide players, so I've tried to avoid that. Bobby Pettle was a good wide player for about 20 games, I guess, but obviously we had Ryan Fraser, who was amazing, but lone player, isn't it? It's
yeah, that's true.
So central midfield, Kieran Dyer was a joke. If you ask anyone who played with him, and he's doing this age 17 and 18, and I've spoken to David Johnson and Jim Magilton and people about playing with him, just absolute force of nature, tiny little guy, but and it's weird how some guys can run a game by using the ball, and he could run a game by carrying the ball and using the ball. So he put the physicality with the and so quick as well, and in the end became obviously like central midfielder. We tried him out on the wing and he was wing back, and you see this with good players, don't you? You're like, right, 2 years time central midfield is too good, it's just too good not to be. So yeah, Dyer was
I've never quite figured out Dyer as a person. I've kind of watched a lot of him on telly.
You read the book?
I haven't read the full. I've read clippings of it, and obviously you've seen him in different altercations. What's he like as a man?
He's got some issues, but if you read the books, his upbringing was interesting, put it that way, in in a not very socio-economically developed part of Ipswich, and I think some abuse as well happened as well. And you just got to, for these guys, especially in a town like Ipswich, they come through and then they're on the Tyne Bridge and they're making 30 grand a week, and then later 60 grand a week. He was making this. It's a very, very hard adjustment. And he'll admit as a person he struggled with that. But the book's definitely a good read, and the True Geordie podcast, he gives a lot of the book away on that as well. But brilliant player, Jack. Brilliant player, I've gone for Matt Holland with him. So at least we've got one defensively minded midfielder. Just a joke of a player. Played like 300 games for Ipswich and then 300 games for Charlton. Played 180 or something stupid games in a row. Proper box to box, proper fit, good tackler. He'll probably be needed in our combined team because he's the only defensive.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Midfielder there.
Thoroughly nice bloke, Matt Holland, as well. I see a lot of Norwich fans giving Matt Holland stick, obviously because he played for Ipswich. But I was lucky enough to meet Matt on like my first ever time in a proper studio, and he was one of and I must have been like 15, and he was the loveliest man I've met. So Matt can go, and I'll let Matt respond. Matt's in.
Great guy, and if I just plug quickly, Blue Monday podcast interview with him just a couple of weeks ago. Seamless. And speaking of Blue Monday interviews, part 3 with Jim Magilton is out later on today, and you can't have seen Ipswich play under George Burley and not have Jim Magilton. Deep line playmaker before deep line playmakers was a big thing. Brilliant range of passing, snarly, snappy, not very quick, but probably I didn't see Tyson and Murin, so before the comments come in, probably the best passer Ipswich has had since I've been watching. Brilliant player. So midfield 3, I like that. Dyer, Holland, Magilton.
I should have probably put in Madison now, because I think that all of them have got a really good chance of getting it. You're not knocking Wes out of that.
It would just be whether you went to 4-2, 4-2-3-1, but tricky.
I mean,
I can understand why you'd have Huckabee as well in for that promotion with Worthington
yeah,
as well.
yeah, massively. Okay, so on to my front two. I've gone with, I mean, I had to put Grant Holt in there. I mean, a proper Norwich City legend. Um, I still look at him and I wonder how he scored them 15 Premier League goals. Arguably should have got an England call up. I think he was the second highest um, English goal scorer behind Wayne Rooney that season. He had a fantastic first season in the Premier League, 15 goals, scored a ton of goals across League One and the Championship. Just one of them players you really want in your team. He gets the dressing room going. Defenders were always scared of him. He was very, very clever at relieving pressure, whether that was through a dive, whether that was through kicking the ball a bit further out of play. He had a mind up there. He played across all the divisions. He was just very clever and scored an absolute ton of goals. A really, really good player, Grant Holt. And then next to him, I've gone for Timu Pukki. I mean, probably for me, one of the most gifted finishers I've seen at Norwich City. I mean, I saw Dean Ashton and he was absolutely
player.
And he could have probably gone in there. Injuries. It was a real shame about Dean Ashton because every fan you speak to, whether that's West Ham fans, Crew fans, Norwich fans, he played really well at all of them. It just never quite got in that rhythm. But Dean Ashton could have gone in there. But Timu Pukki's been magnificent. Hat-trick in the Premier League, 30-odd goals in the Championship, a free transfer. I still can't believe that. Just a really, really clever striker. Finishes fantastically well. Linked up really nicely with Emi Buendia, who I have fitted in this squad somehow. Timu Pukki will be remembered at Norwich City for a long, long while from last season. Maybe gone off the boil a little bit this season. I think that's just through the sheer amount of games he's played. Let's not forget he's played all of them games for Finland as well. Got them into their first ever major tournament and spearheaded that, scored in consecutive Finland games. Timu Pukki and Grant Holt up front. Don't think they'd work as a two, but as two individuals, very, very good.
Yeah, I can't argue. Pukki, we talk about his finisher. I don't think I've seen a calmer finisher. Well, we'll talk about one of my guys I've got in. But yeah, great finisher.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're an opposition fan coming up against Holt, you cannot stand the guy.
Yeah, that's why
I can't stand him. But so I'm finding it difficult. I get praised for being balanced. I'm finding it difficult to praise Grant Holt, but I understand, and I do like those stories of players where it's a slow burn, isn't it, up the leagues and find their way and then get the chance. I think that's great.
There's always them players when you get promoted, you think, they're going to cut it, and they just do. And he's gone right the way through the football pyramid, and he's succeeded in all the divisions. And he's still playing football at Wroxham.
How old is he?
37, 38.
God, wow.
Yeah. Engine on him.
Right, I have gone for another one. So this is probably my all-time favourite player anyway, is Marcus Stewart for Ipswich, who when we couldn't get up, club record signing, with the Kieran Dyer money, comes in, and even if you're an Norwich fan, I would go out of your way, watch Ipswich Bolton playoff semi-final 2-2. We're 2-0 down, Mowbray's off, Johnson's off, Bolton have got our number again, and it's just the most ridiculous 2-goal performance. And for the same player to score the two, it's like a 30-yard volley, and then this dribble through round the keeper and curls it round two defenders on a line. I could talk about it all day. And then, like you were saying, Jack, we're going to go for a bit of one-upmanship here. In the Premier League, top scoring English player, not the second top scoring, but the top scoring, I think 18, 19 goals in the Premier League. Natural fin. He was a sort of player, Jack. He went through on goal, and you think, put your foot through it. No, he had another 5 touches and took it around the keeper or dinked it over him or something. Brilliant player. The other one, I struggled with this. I was going to go for Daryl Murphy for having having a big presence who could hold the ball up. But I've just been researching for the Jim Magilton interview. I'll go for Darren Bent. Because
I was
in 2004, 2005, the last season he was at Ipswich. Probably similar thing with Huckabee. I mean, Bent can't dribble like Huckabee, but for a direct, just run in behind forward. Okay, sometimes the finishing was hit and miss, but defenders hated him. And otherwise, I've got I've got Dyer, I guess. I don't have any pace, so I need Darren Bent in there. So my two
Probably out of
forwards.
the 22 players that we've picked, Darren Bent's gone on to have the most valuable career.
Definitely raised well until Buendia gets sold. He'll raise the most. Incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a remarkable career that Darren Bent's had.
So how the hell?
That's our 11.
How the hell do we do this then, Jack?
Yeah,
do you pick one and then I pick one, or do we go through the?
So the first thing we've got to figure out is what formation do we play?
Well, I'm happy to go with a back four. I think, can we 4-2-3-1 it with those four forwards though?
Yeah, no, we can do that.
That's tricky, isn't it?
No, I think 4-2-3-1 is probably sensible here, actually.
Okay.
Okay, so I've drawn out my little formation.
So do you want to pick one and then I'll pick one? And I'm happy for Norwich to have 6 in there on the basis that neither of my fullbacks are going to get in, are they?
So do you think Richard Wright goes in, or is it John Ruddy?
Oh God.
This is going to be the only position in which we can only have a Norwich or an Ipswich player, obviously.
That's so difficult. So difficult. Yeah. I'm obviously going to say Wright, and you're obviously going to say Ruddy.
I tell you what, we'll put half of them in each, and we'll let the comment section decide.
There you go. So I'll let you have the first pick. So we'll put Ruddy in goal, and we'll let the comments decide.
Richard Ruddy in goal.
We'll put Ruddy in goal. Don't worry.
Okay, Ruddy in goal. So
can I just put my hand up and say I'm happy for Max Aarons to be the right back?
Okay, cool.
Because I think he's going to have an amazing career. I think he was incredible last season. And just for what fullbacks do now, he's just your modern fullback. Pace, skill, passing ability, superb player.
So I think, yeah, and I'm happy, I think, for you to have a left back in.
So we're going to have Mings at left back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It's been Mings. I rated Mings at Ipswich, but I never quite got him. And now he's at Villa, and I know this is bending the rules slightly, but he's a really solid Premier League player. And I don't think, I don't think Adam Drury was ever a really solid Premier League player.
No, Mings has gone on to play for England. And Jack, you talk about the upbringings and like Grant Holt and playing through the divisions. I think when these players do get up there, they're just that much more switched on and ready for it as well. So great, okay.
So we need a centre back each, basically.
I would say Closer's better than Basong.
I would agree. It's just that the injury worries me. I'll put Tim Close in.
Okay. So I can have John Walk.
Yeah.
Or Titus Bramble. I just think we've got to have an old school player in there, haven't we? This guy made his debut in 1975, Jack, and I saw him play in 1993.
Yeah. Hey, mate, this is your pick.
Let's put him in.
John Walk?
What a back four. Aaron's Walk, Closer, Mings.
I wonder what that would be at like a dinner party. Like, who's leading that conversation? Who's
not Walkie?
Who's pouring wine?
Right, so are we 4-2-3-1 in this then?
Yeah, now this gets difficult for me here. Look at me with my notepad. I'm like Rafa Benitez on the sideline. Okay, so we need two. Matt Holland goes in there, surely.
What, in the... Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt Holland goes in.
As one of the sitters?
Yeah. And do you mind if I put Howson in next to him? I think he can play as sort of a holding midfielder.
I think Midgilton's going to end up missing out then, isn't he? Yeah, go on, stick Howson in.
Or we put House. I mean, Howson doesn't have to go in there.
The only thing is, Midgilton can't be a number 10. He can't play in the next row forward.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas Dyer could.
Could Dyer hold?
Dyer could do anything, Jack. Stick Howson in, go on. Holland and Howson. Yeah.
Okay, it's got a ring to it, that.
It does, doesn't it? Like
it's like a health shop.
Reeve and Bloom. You're
Yeah.
just Holland and Barrett there, aren't you?
Basically, yeah.
Giving away your shopping trips here.
Now
Okay.
this is looking a lot more talented than I thought it would at the moment.
Well, this is tricky. So
We need 3 players in behind the striker.
yeah, the only player I've got that can play in any of those positions is Dyer.
Okay.
None of Magilton can't do it, Stewart can't do it, and Bent can't do it.
So is Dyer playing through the middle?
Depends what you want to do with Houlihan. And if you put Dyer front right, that means no Buendia.
Okay, well,
look, let's just do this. Huckabee's the only one who can play front left, isn't he?
Yeah, so Huckabee's in
so
there.
So put Huckabee in.
Now this gets really tricky. Really tricky. So so we've got Houlihan and Buendia were my choices.
Yeah.
But that...
So I've only got Dyer. Magilton... I mean, you could put Jim Magilton number 10, but that's...
I think Dyer has to go in there.
So the question then, you have to choose between Buendia and Houlihan.
And I'm going for Houlihan.
So Dyer's going to be front right.
Yeah.
Or is Houlihan going to be there? And Houlihan's number 10, yeah?
Wes can go in the 10, yeah.
Okay.
That's a frightening front 3. Huckabee, Houlihan and Dyer.
That's got everything, hasn't it? Because you've got Dyer's running power, you've got Huckabee's dribbling, and Houlihan's passing. That's decent.
Yeah, that's special. Okay, so we've now got 4 strikers with 1 slot. If who was it who said we need to disagree on something and have a proper argument? I think this is possibly where it comes because.
Well, let's just be real about it. It's Pookie or Stewart, isn't it, in this team? Because it's about creating the chances.
Yeah.
Creating the chances for them, and they're. Although I suppose Holt would give you the. Oh God, I'm talking myself out now. Holt would give you the physicality that you wouldn't otherwise have, and Bent's quicker than any of those players.
Yeah, I think I prefer to have Holt in a 2, so I'll rule Holt out. So I'll have Pookie fighting the Norwich corner.
Okay, and I'll have Stewart fighting the Ipswich corner.
So yeah, I guess what are we basing this on now? Who's the out-and-out player?
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? That's a tough one.
I've got the stats up. So Stewart scored 27 in 75 games.
For Ipswich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pookie has scored... Okay, remember that in your head. Pookie has scored 40 in 71.
But 29 of those are in the Championship.
True.
So Stewart has more Premier League goals. But then some people argue with me that Stewart was a one-season wonder because he never did that any other time in his career. He came down with us and then he played for Mick at Sunderland.
But we're based this off a lot of different things. We're basing it off what you saw from that player in the flesh.
Oh, he's my favourite player of all time. Yeah, but that's a 17-year-old me going to away games with my mates and loving football, and he was the guy that got us over the line.
Well, I think so. We've got how many? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Should be 5 of each.
We've got 6 Norwich players in there at the moment.
Oh, hello. So it has to be Stewart then, on the basis of numbers.
Stewart, yeah.
Awesome.
Because we decided on Ruddy in goal rather than Richard Ruddy, didn't we? Or are we still letting the comment section decide our goalkeeper?
I don't know. Is the team stronger with Wright in goal and Pookie up front though?
Well, it sounds like you're just Stewart's agent at the moment. So, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll let you have Stewart in there.
Well, look, we're going to get crucified in the comments, whatever, aren't we?
Exactly. Whatever we say, we are going to get crucified.
And let's not make a graphic of this team because then we'll get even more crucified. People have to watch the podcast.
So we've got a 4-2-3-1. We've got Ruddy in goal, Mings at left back, Close at centre back with John Walk and Max Aarons at right back. Okay. We've got Matt Holland and Johnny Howson in holding midfield, Huckabee down the left, Houlihan in the 10, Kieran Dyer down the right, and then Marcus Stewart up front. Are you happy with that?
I'm happy that we came to that in a very diplomatic and balanced way. But what I would suggest people do in the comments is you could probably make about 8 different configurations of
Yeah, you
this,
could.
can't you? With obviously take off your Norwich or Ipswich hats and respect that even though he's annoying, Darren Huckabee was a good player, and even though he's annoying, Grant Holt was a good player.
I guess what the Ipswich fans will be thinking now is Marcus Stewart a better player than Darren Ben?
Better footballer, yes.
Really?
Was he a more successful striker? No.
Yeah, but so how does that work? So he's a better footballer, but
He's a
he's not.
better footballer in terms of first touch skill. Bent was a force of nature, running
Yeah,
behind, and you know the whole Andy Cole thing of Andy Cole will score you 30 goals in a season,
yeah.
and he'll make more chances, but he'll miss more chances. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? It's that thing. Like you mentioned Bradley Johnson
Yeah,
earlier. Is Bradley Johnson as good a footballer as Jim Magilton? Of course he's not. But Bradley Johnson is very, very good at being very fit, having a
yeah.
good shot, and being a really good central midfielder. Same as Tommy Miller, who played for Ipswich. So
Yeah.
it's what you need for your team, isn't it?
Okay. Well, I'm relatively happy with that. I'm still. I've done a lot of these sort of best ever Norwich 11s, and I can never quite get the centre back pairing right.
Can I give you mine, Jack?
Yeah, go on then.
I did this in the bath yesterday, and obviously this is completely unfair.
Bar or in the bar?
In the bath. God, I wish I was in the bar. This is completely unfair because I saw better players play for
Yeah.
Norwich than you have in the 90s. Obviously. So I had a 4-4-2 as well. I had Brian Gunn in goal. I
Yeah.
did have Max Aarons. I had
Okay.
Mark Bowen as the left back.
Yeah.
John Newsom and Malky Mackay. I've put Malky Mackay because he scored 3 goals against
Yeah.
Ipswich as well, and I hated him.
Nice.
Listen to this midfield four though. I've got Rule Fox down the right, Darren Eady, who was a great player, down the left, Ian Crook and James Maddison. You having that as a midfield too? And
Okay.
Chris Sutton was a British
Yeah.
transfer record, wasn't he? And so
Unbelievable.
Sutton and Bellamy up front, but you didn't get to see any of those players. Oh, well,
No,
Maddison and Aarons.
yeah. I mean, I've loved Bellamy at every club he's sort of been at, but I never really got to see him at Norwich, which was a shame. But yeah, I mean, Sutton and Bellamy, that's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it just goes to show that you can't help when you were born. In the same way, an Ipswich fan could come to me and say, "Okay, Cooper, Burley, Beattie, Mills, Hunter, Tyson, Murin, Mariner, Brazil,
Yeah.
Gates." Do
And
you know
I
what I
feel
mean?
like you always have more of an attachment to the first few players that you see,
Absolutely.
don't you?
But Jack, that's the same for music or film
Yeah,
or anything. It's invariably the one you saw when you were 15 years old and you were,
exactly.
high on
It's going to
life
be
or
great though
whatever.
because we'll have some people watching this who are in their 70s. We'll have some people watching this who are maybe 10, 11 who are first getting
Yeah,
into
where's
football.
Martin Peters, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. So no, this is going to be really good. Please do let us know your combined 11s. Try and keep them relatively even, so
6
5
and
and
5,
6.
yeah.
And we'll be delighted to see them. Thank you for watching. What's the rest of your day's plans, Ben? What's going on?
I'll probably just think about this now for the rest of the day, and how when you do something by committee, it never quite comes out how it should, does it? But we did it the best way we could, and yeah,
Definitely.
and
I think that's a mid-table Premier League side that we've come up with there.
sums up both of our clubs,
Just a
doesn't
bit
it?
average.
There we go.
Um,
No,
uh,
I'll got some. I think I've got some more content in the can. A very nerdy video about the lowest probability goals that have happened in the Championship this season. Niche.
We're already on the niche content. I love it.
Oh God, very much so. But Jack, I've loved doing these shows, and we might do a mailbag
Yes.
mailbag show when we've run out of. Now we've done
No,
East
that's
Anglian derbies and combined 11s.
Yeah, definitely. Please do let us know any questions that you've got. We've got a few from the last video we posted, so we can roll them over into
Yes.
as well. Ben, I'll see you very soon, mate. Thank you.
Love
Thanks
it.
to everyone who's watched. Please do like, please do subscribe to each of our channels. We'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.